I'm in a field with poppies. Hey everyone, what's up? It's Joe Waxman here, the mediocre astrologer. Hey, he's okay. How you guys doing? This is my best. In this video, I want to give you guys an update on my situation, as well as I want to check out some solar arc direction stuff with my own chart, just to because I looked at it finally, and wow, yeah. I was not giving enough attention to solar arc directions because they really do point to a lot of stuff. So we're going to look at that. And we're also going to look at what's going on with America. There's some really interesting stuff that I started looking at, and I want to share it with you guys with everything that's happening. And I think you'll find it pretty interesting. So yeah, guys, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Book a reading with me, macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com is my email address. You can just email me there and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me get into it. All right. Um, yeah, so about my situation. Um, yeah, basically, we have a doctor's appointment on the 10th for my mom, and that needs to happen in order for Medicaid to pay for her home. Um, I talked to the owner of the house and told him the situation. He was pretty understanding. I was freaked out. I was scared. I was like, I don't know. I was just stressing about it. I didn't think he'd understand, but yeah. So we have another month, and then I don't know what's going on. But you can see here with my solar arc directions that there's some real major stuff happening. So first of all, we get the Chiron conjunct my sun to the degree. It's past. The good news is that it's past. You can see the tick marks 1555, 1517. So Chiron's just over my sun. And this is solar arc direction. So if you don't know, it's the same exact position as your natal chart, but it's just progressed forward about 1 degree per year, same as um, secondary progressions, but the planets don't shift their position from the natal. So I have this unique square between Chiron and then Saturn and then Sun right in the middle of it. So I'm facing that overlap, you see, because Sun is directly over Saturn, and it's past the arc minute degree, so it is separating, which is great news. But then we also get solar arc Saturn square natal Sun. So I'm getting 3 hits between my Sun and Saturn. Um, or between my Sun, yeah, Sun Saturn, Sun Chiron, Sun Saturn. Um, yeah, and then before I showed you the secondary progressed Sun is on the same point, which it would be because Sun and solar arc Sun and secondary progressed Sun move almost at the exact same speed. But then my Lord of the Year for the solar return Venus was also on my Sun and on my natal Saturn, 0 degrees. And that might not be so bad, but it is still activating it, and it's still bringing Saturnian themes to my life. Saturn is my fourth ruler. It's here in the 10th. This does not exactly scream a lot about a solid home, right? Because if the fourth lord is in the 10th whole sign house, it means my home is out in public, right? That could be the streets. I mean, it could be, right? Or it could be some other place very public. I mean, obviously, like making videos and stuff like that. That's very relevant. But yeah, it's not great. Here's me. Here's my home. Both in very public places. I mean, that does not scream solid foundation. It's like the home, having a home is not a promise of this natal chart. Like I've had a home, I've been lucky, that's great, but it's it's a little iffy. It's like, I don't know. But yeah, Saturn is getting crushed right now. Pluto is opposite Saturn in my chart. So I'm experiencing a very Saturnian moment. Plus my lunar arc moon is, yeah, there's more. There's more. My lunar arc moon is in Scorpio, opposite it's exaltation, so it's in fall or debilitation, and it's pretty much on my ascendant and Uranus. not only that, I mean, this will bring up themes of my mother, which is very relevant in difficult situation. My solar arc, Uranus is also square my natal moon. So we're getting moon Uranus combinations here also, which is really crazy. Um, yeah, I mean, because obviously, like this is they're going to repeat the pattern, at some point, and that's where it's at. It's over, it's a little past, but actually the Uranus square to my moon is still applying. Um, yeah. So yeah, sudden events with my mother, um, or having to do with my, whatever some moon rules, the ninth house philosophy. So perhaps a crisis of meaning, existential crisis, things of that nature. Uranus is very sudden shocks and changes and things like that. Um, Radical belief shifts, community, friends, networks, things like that, social issues, awareness. I mean, so a lot of interpretations could draw out of it. And I don't want to spend too long going over that, but I'm just saying solar arcs really I was not paying attention to them. I should have because they're very relevant. I mean, Saturn in a few years is going to conjunct my moon, but we're not going to worry about that right now. We'll worry about that later. But you can see like huge hits to my Saturn and Sun and Moon and Ascendant. Well, this is not necessarily bad, I wouldn't say, but it's definitely says something about Moon Uranus issues and me. Um, the Moon in Scorpio. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, Charlie Chaplin had this position natally, so I don't think it's like super bad. Probably makes me more entertaining in some ways, but anyway. Let's look at America. Oh yeah, just one more thing, I guess. Like the the eclipse will be my sixth house, 19 degrees, so in conjunct my moon. So that's also another interesting addition to the mix. Like, how's that going to affect my moon, which literally represents my mother? And considering that so much of what I'm experiencing right now has to do with my mother, that will be interesting, right? Um, the inconjunct. I mean, this is in a sixth position to the eclipse, sixth house position in conjunct. So, which does bring up issues of health, service to others. It's not the strongest position. Um, Neither is the eighth, but I mean, you know, I just worry. I don't know. I mean, for me, it could indicate new work patterns, new daily life routine, things of that nature. Um, but the exact degree of my moon worries me that with the position that it's in, that not only could this cause some heartache, but it might be bad for my mother. I don't know. Or maybe it just new beginning in a sixth house way, new um daily life for her. So we'll see how it goes. um let's pull up America America's chart, the Sibley chart. All right, just briefly go over this with the bounds anyway. um so Saturn is in Jupiter's bounds, which is interesting. Definitely adds a lot more sort of, it's exalted, this Saturn. um Saturn ruling the second and third. So our values, our communication, our intellect, our resources. Anyway, it's very prominent. We value you know, we value justice, right? And fairness and balance. And then Jupiter, I think, adds to that, right? Jupiter's balance, right? Um, Jupiter and Venus are in Mars's balance. Jupiter is the ascendant lord. Mars it's in Cancer, so that's a bit aggressive, right? Mars in Cancer. That's violent and sexual. And if you think about it, um, America leads the world, pushes the needle of the world forward in areas of sex, right, and violence, right. It's not that violence is the world is new to violence, but America, especially with its Hollywood um, and culture, has a lot to say about that, right? And it's still Venus and Jupiter, but Mars and Cancer definitely is an undertone of sort of violence and whatnot. Our Mars, the Mars in Gemini is actually in Mars's balance. And so this actually explains a lot of America's aggression. I mean, that's not just Mars and Gemini in the seventh, it's Mars in its own balance. And Mars in its own balance kind of definitely answers to itself, at least in a sense. Yes, it's disposited by Mercury. You know, this Mercury, this actually really it's in Jupiter's balance. So this is a good Mercury, right? It's in well, it's retrograde, so there's that. But you know, Jupiter Cancer is a very good combination, exalted at eighth house. So, like I've said before, a lot of secrecy here. Opposite Pluto, so like very obsessive, very deep, right? Kind of you know, intellect and communication going on, like really, really deep rooted, secret CIA kind of shit, right? Like all the American secrets. Like we know we got huge secrets, right? Um, Moon's in Saturn's balance, which is not so bad considering it's in Aquarius, Saturn's domicile lord of Aquarius. So that seems pretty good. And Mars seems to be in Chiron seems to be in Mars' balance in Aries sign, so definitely ruled by Mars. Or defended by Mars, you could say. Chiron is an area where we have a lot of fear and we need protection because we feel very vulnerable because of how unique or different we are, right? And this is in the fourth, it's fifth whole sign house, but fourth quadrant. So in some ways, we can see that America identifies or is at home in the fifth house of arts and entertainment and children and schooling. But yeah, definitely for arts and entertainment for sure, right? And then the Chiron here in the fifth house speaks to our entertainment industry, believe it or not, right? Somewhat you could say fourth house, so like land, you know, from a subjective perspective of America, talking about, you know, homeland, but it's still tied to the fifth house, right? And so Chiron here um, represents America's very, very unique entertainment industry, right? Chiron is some say it's a maverick, right? People are too quick to jump on the wounded healer archetype. That happens, but as a result of Chiron being so incredibly unique and different, right? But it's not necessarily so that it's wounded healer, right? Like, so I just want to stress that. I don't like that. Everyone jumps to like the wounds and the healing and Chiron, it's all about, then we can't talk about anything else but the wounds and the healing. Like, shut up. There's so much more to Chiron than just the wounds and the healing. It's really annoying. Anyway, um, yeah, this speaks to America's entertainment industry and our home in Hollywood. Like Hollywood, it's like the second capital of America, right after New York. I mean, well, yeah, or there's DC, but I mean, come on, it's like New York and Hollywood. Anyway, um, yeah. So okay, let's look at not that. All right, let's look at the secondary progressions, and then we'll bring in the solar arc and the eclipse. All right, here we are at the secondary progressions, and I want to move it forward because there's some interesting stuff happening. So Jupiter's going stationary, and that's huge, and it's right over the sun. Secondary progressed Jupiter right over the natal sun. I mean, a few degrees apart, but it's still very relevant to our worldliness, to our identity, right? Jupiter's going stationary, which is interesting because it's about to go direct from like 100 years or more than 100 years of being retrograde, right? It went retrograde early in the century, 19, you know, early in the 20th century. After that, we had prohibition. Jupiter went retrograde and we had prohibition. Um, So that's very significant. Our progress went backwards, right? Yeah, obviously it's forward from the initial one because it went direct for a while, but it went, yeah, it did go back on itself. So we retrograded back. Um, Now I wonder how this is going to manifest itself. And I think what's going to happen, this is my prediction. I think we'll see like full legalization of marijuana, right? Obviously, prohibition is not an issue anymore, but it's going to go the other way. We're going to see, especially initially, like first 20 years, um, we'll see full, yeah, I'm not talking about like this year, next year. I'm saying like within 20 years or so ish, right? We'll see full legalization of marijuana. Could be full legalization of other, you know, hopefully the wise substances that are illegal, like plant medicine. Plant spirit medicine should be legal, right? The mushrooms, the cactuses, you know, the all the plants, the stuff that grows in the ground, that should be legal. There really shouldn't be any reason where it could go bad is if they start really legalizing or virtually well, I mean, decriminalization is fine with me, but like making drugs widely available is a horrible, horrible idea. I mean, I live in Philly. Kensington's one of the worst places on earth for drugs. Absolutely terrible, right? Like we need to do stuff about that. So like um yeah, Jupiter in Cancer, direct. Right now it's stationary, so it's you know, very potent time. Well, will be in August. This is July, so right after, you know, the July 4th, Jupiter's going stationary. Um yeah, so very significant. And then it'll be a time of extreme progress, liberalism, and an end to conservatism. Well, not an end to conservatism, because the conservative movement is pretty strong in America, and I support it because too much liberalism is just leads to decay and rot. Um, but we don't want to go backwards either. But here we have the secondary progressed moon on its way to a new moon, and it's trine this Jupiter stationary. And let's just look at that on its own. Here we have the secondary progress chart just on its own. We can see Jupiter in Cancer, exalted, stationary, trine moon, and it's a mutual reception. Moon rules Cancer, Jupiter rules Pisces. Moon's in Jupiter's bounds. Jupiter's in Mercury's bounds, so yeah, but not as good. But it's still like amazing, right? So we're gonna receive a blessing, and if we just look at this chart on its own, this is hugely popular, right? Like so, like something perhaps in around August, we could see um, America being championed or hailed as you know, something very positive can come. You know, blessings can happen that time, and it's seventh house, 11th house, right? Obviously not when we can put it on the natal chart of America, but here on its own. So there could be something that happens where America is celebrated, right, and cheered. July 4th, I realize is, you know, a month previous to that, but something else. This is uh, interesting, and it's also signifying a ending because moon is so close to its new moon. There's some ending, right? Some ending, but like blessing at the same time. What that is, it's difficult to say. Jupiter's the I'll have to go back to the chart. I know it's the ascendant lord of the Sibley chart, but some other things. Uranus conjunct the MC might be significant. Um, Venus is in its own bounds and domicile, but it's opposite Saturn. If I were just interpreting this on its own, let's see, Saturn ruling the fifth and sixth, and the third. It feels very aggressive, but limiting because sixth and third combinations can be quite, I mean, a couple things. I mean, very academic and intellectual and writing, is usually enhanced with these combinations, but also fighting, aggression, um, and potentially also like things like healing with the hands, but that would be on a personal level. With this, I see that, Venus is not friendly towards Scorpio, so it's not really helping the Saturn, which is in being dominated by Mars. Mars bounds and Mars is sign. Mars is in Libra and Jupiter's bound, so Mars is not in good dignity. Mars can't really help it. There's something negative here, especially about resources, money, communication, conflict, restriction. Venus is up here in the ninth house celebrating, right? But it's like, I don't even want to look at you down there, Saturn, because I got nothing for you. You're not my friend. You're an enemy sign, Scorpio. So it's not friendly, but it is happy up here. It's just like a complete divide between like something really crappy in the second and third house, conflict, restriction, limitation, retrograde. Yeah. Saturn Scorpio is very heavy like authority, leadership. It's posited by a very wishy-washy Mars that's also retrograde. So Ascendant Lord Mercury's in the sixth in Aquarius in Mars's bounds, which is also not as good, right? So there's some, definitely some not so great stuff going on. South node Pluto is conjunct, but North node Jupiter is as well. So yeah, I mean, this indicates a very difficult past, which we know, Plutonic past, but we're reminded of it as long as there's South node is here. And then Neptune is actually trine the South node, which I feel like that can wake up sort of visions or dreams, things of the past, or past things that are in the present that are woken up from the past, reigniting past issues, especially with the Neptune and Virgos, invokes the imagination as well as sort of academic type stuff. And then Moon, Mars is also squared Jupiter. This is separating. And it's not usually the worst, but Mars is harmful. Mars is in passive aggressive Libra and is harmful in Cancer. So there's some conflict here. Not major. I think Jupiter having the superior square is in a good place to sort of bless this Mars or bring its benefic qualities. But there's some conflict here. This Mars is not a happy Mars. And just on this chart alone, Mars rules it's the eighth lord, and the third lord. So definitely like anger issues, money issues, shared resources, loss of money, spending too much money, conflict, crisis. But Jupiter is helping, blessing all of it. So somehow we'll make it through. But let's look at it. Yeah, this Mars is directly over natal America's natal Saturn. And that's not good because Mars and Saturn is a difficult combination, and Mars is not good in Libra, whereas Saturn is. So this is eroding our Saturnian justice system, like our constitutional, really strong, admirable sense of law and order and justice. Mars is eroding that and the secondary progressions because it's wishy-washy. Can't make up its mind. It's conflictual. It's aggressive. It's really wearing down Saturn's patience. Saturn does not like it. Yeah, then Jupiter square. So that's not bad. I mean, the square is not great, but Cancer, neither Mars or Saturn likes Cancer, but Jupiter is in the superior square to both of them. So there's some blessing there. Keeping it in check. Jupiter's going to keep these guys in check despite the erosion of dignity of this Saturn. Um, what else? So Venus is in the fifth quadrant, but sixth whole sign house. Venus ruling the sixth. So fun at work, right? Good time at work, success at work. So there could be some benefit to that. I mean, I don't know exactly how it'll play out, but combining fifth house and sixth house things, and Venus is blessing them, entertainment and academic type stuff, combinations. Um, let's pull in these solar arc directions because that's where I think it gets really interesting. All right. Now we see the south node here in line with natal Saturn and secondary progressed Mars. And south node is a letting go. It's a detachment. These are the solar arc progression, solar arc directions, right? And so that also is a further erosion of America's law and order, democracy, and whatnot, right? Systems of like fairness, balance, justice, the constitutional law, right? It's yeah, America's getting attacked on it on its Saturnian law constitutional front. Um, Now I don't know if there's any significance to Moon being conjunct secondary progressed Saturn, solar arc Moon. So I'm not going to worry about those. I'm just looking at the ones that line up about the natal chart. Okay. Saturn in the seventh secondary solar arc Saturn is hitting our Mars. Let's look at that just on its own without the progressions. See here, solar arc Saturn is hitting Mars. So we're gonna face some restriction as far as like America right now, as far as like our involvement overseas, meddling with other countries. Saturn is prohibiting it. Saturn is ruling the second and third, so maybe limited resources and just general intellect, general consensus, dispositing the moon, the people. Say no, no more foreign aggressions, not right now. Saturn. Mars is also conjunct the natal moon, right, of America, by 1 degree. Mars is ruling the 12th and the fifth, fifth quadrant, fifth, fifth whole sign house, and the IC. Um, so we could see like something foreign, right, attacking the people. Or we know what's going on there. I mean, that's why it's so literal. It's like so interesting and funny because Moon represents the people. Mars ruling the 12th on the moon is sort of like something foreign attacking the people. And we know what's happening at the borders. We know Joe Biden is leaving the borders wide open. Not only leaving them wide opening, inviting this is almost like leading towards a civil war or something. Like he's destroying this country. I mean, he is. But yeah, this is not a good combination. Moon Mars combinations are generally quite aggressive. Moon's very vulnerable and sensitive. Mars is very aggressive, right? Hyper aggressive. It's the how to say malefic in for this chart, it's a day chart. Mars is the most aggressive planet. Mars is the worst planet to have on your moon, literally, for this kind of chart. This is an attack on the people. Straight up. Um, So yeah, our Mars are we're being handicapped. We're being attacked. We Saturn is limiting our Mars. Not that I'm a fan of America's, foreign interventionist this policies, but at the same time, I don't like the idea of us having our hands tied, right, by this Saturn while we're being attacked and invaded by foreigners on our homeland. I see, right? It's coming, yeah. All right, they're foreigners in the third house, neighborhood, right? The hood, anywhere. right? In America, really. Um, bring in politics, fourth house, fifth house, like also entertainment and media, um, coming to attack the people. Yeah, not very good. Right? Um, can't think of anything else. About you see Chiron in conjunct Mercury. Um, thought about that one. Mercury's in the dominant position, so it's probably okay. Jupiter's um squaring the ascendant degree or applying to a square, but it's the ruler, so that's okay. All right. Now if we look at the eclipse, got 19 degrees with Chiron. Um, everyone's talking about wounds and healing, Chiron. Oh my gosh, Chiron, Chiron. Um, this is like the ultimate eclipse of individuality, right? Because it's got Venus, obviously North Node. North Node is something that increases, right? So we're increasing, we're becoming more worldly. We got Venus, North Node, Sun, Chiron, Moon, and Mercury. Mercury's retrograde, but so Chiron, especially in Aries, this is all the ultimate new beginning. Chiron is conjunct, the natal Chiron. Um, so that that's also talking about individuality in America, being unique, being different, being one of a kind, as America is, like, right, like what's America about? Like, you can go, if you go to other countries, you have to conform. What the motto in Japan is, the nail that sticks out gets hammered back down, right? If you stick out in Japan, you're going to get hammered back down. If you stick out in America, you're going to be celebrated. Right? That's the difference. That's Chiron. So this is the ultimate, like, let your freak flag fly, kind of be an individual, be unique, be yourself, kind of new moon eclipse. Venus and Mercury support it as well, right? So, yeah, Chiron alignment with it's really going to awaken America's independence and individualism, which overall I appreciate. I don't. Some people take it too far, with the we could see that with the strong uh Piscean influence. That's just like the Pisces is like ultimate acceptance. It's just like sort of like anything can be anything, and people are going insane. But yeah, is it hitting any degrees of the natal Sibley chart? So Chiron, that's the um it's sextile Mars. That's okay. I think there was something I noticed. Oh, wait, these kind of to the degree of the ascendant in Leo, which is interesting. Trine. That's quite good. Anyway, if there was something about that aspect, I kind of lost it. I don't think so. Anyway, um, let's let me um swap these around. All right. So now we just have the eclipse and American Sibley chart. Um, we have the conjunction of Mars and Saturn, which I think is dangerous, and a lot of people are sort of kind of mitigating. Here we're going. Hour by hour. I think it's dangerous, and I think everyone should be careful about that. Um, yeah, the moon is going to apply to a conjunction with Jupiter in Taurus, so that's going to be really good, and it's going to Mars is applying to a sextile with Jupiter, and that's also really good. So it's going to work out okay, right? Um, you see here, see Mars, yeah. So yeah. April 19th, Mars is trining or sextiling Jupiter. Um, I think that was everything. Everything I wanted to talk about for now. So yeah, some really interesting times coming up. In November is when the exact new secondary progressed lunation in Pisces happens, which is going to be trine Jupiter stationary. So that's really interesting. Definitely going to cement in the a Piscean influence for the next 30 years. So, I mean, some of this woke stuff that we're experiencing right now it will probably be cemented into history by the secondary progressive lunation. Um, make that of what you will, but yeah, also it's a difficult time. It's a mixed bag. So like, there's like America, like the justice, the honor, the constitutional stuff is getting eroded. We seem to be, facing restriction with what we can and can't do overseas, which may be okay because we've been, you know, I've never been a fan of our foreign policy, right? But at the same time, I don't like being the feeling of being restricted, right? I don't think anyone does. And also, we're being invaded by foreigners, and not in a good way. Mars conjunct Moon on the solar arc progressions. That's not good. But yeah, guys. So I hope you found this interesting. That's it for now. Um, I know I do. So anyway, hit that like button if you can. Book a reading with me. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Subscribe if you haven't already. Anyway, guys, my name is Joe Waxman. I'm the mediocre astrologer. He's okay. All righty, guys. Laugh it off. Take a victory laugh. Win before you win. All that good stuff. I'll see you.